Welcome to the James Dodson show. No, just joking. BBQ Champs Academy. I get to interview Mike, or roast Mike, as a lot of people have texted me and asked. And we're going to have a special guest, Timothy Esch, Tiny E Barbecue. And, first of all, I want to thank our sponsors, the barbecue store. Dustin and Stanley does an amazing job for all the cooks in Texas. For your barbecue needs, make sure you look up the barbecue store. Best knives on the market, Gunnar Wilhelm knives. Can't go wrong. Dago Barbecue and Raider Red Meats. Great cook-off they host in Lubbock, Texas. Trying to see. I'm seeing some comments. I hope they're good. We got. There you go. There's Gordon from Cleveland. Gordon, hope everything's going well. Look at Carlos. Carlos, how you doing, man? Great showing this weekend, sir. Great showing. Good morning. It sounds like Lucas has traveled the world like Tim Esch has over the last couple of weeks. Wow, mine looks way better than normal. Amazing what a shower can do. Wow, Gordon's shots fired. Just wait until we get a few more people in here. If anybody has any great questions for Mike, ask him how he landed Suzette. We all know that Mike outkicked his coverage. Please let us know. And then I was going to tell a little story. I was on here one time with Erica, and I was put in timeout. Mike forgot when he allowed me to have moderator privileges that I can put Mike in timeout. Now, I didn't feel like it was necessary to put me in timeout the one night, but I can pretty much assure you that at some point tonight, Mike is going to get a timeout. There's my lovely wife. Babe, Mike and Tim's not on, so I'm not sure who you're talking about. Why did he let you host this show? Carlos, I swear, a lot of people ask me the same thing today. Not really sure. I'm looking. It looks like we're getting a good following of people on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on our first guest of the night, Mr. Timothy Esch from Tiny E Barbecue.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. How are you? Recovering from the jet lag from being in Hawaii and in England as well.
Yeah. It's I'm catching up. The older you get, the longer it takes to catch up. But it takes a good 2 or 3 days to get back in the routine. So, it's all good here.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to you. The Tim travels across the U.S. and across the globe cooking KCBS and other barbecue competitions. So we're going to find out tonight from Tim. What's the best way to do that to where you don't want to drive 20 hours or pull your pit across the ocean on a charter boat. So Tim's going to kind of tell all of us how we can go through and look at it and find out ways that we can cook outside of our backyard. Looking forward to it, Tim.
Okay, great.
All right. And our next guest, which I'm pretty excited about, his name is Michael Steele, former drag racing expert. I think everybody saw the picture on my, on my post on Facebook. It shows you how hard barbecue is, because if you look at that picture from his racing days to the picture of him now, it's a pretty rough go, right? So we want to celebrate Mike doing something that's never been done before, a trifecta at the Tri-Pack Barbecue Cook-Off in Marksville, Louisiana. We're going to go ahead and waste zero time and bring on the real deal, the one and only, the original host of the BBQ Champs Academy, founder of BBQ Champs Academy, founder of How to Do Pulls Right Academy, Mr. Mike Steele.
Hey, brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, Mike.
I'm doing good.
This is awesome to be on this side of the camera and not be in control of my show. So, Tim, how are you doing?
He's still in the middle of the screen, though.
Of course. Yeah, I didn't know exactly where I would land. So we'll take it right here. This is good for me. How you doing, man? You doing all right?
I am doing well, Mike. Doing well. Hey, congratulations on the big GC this weekend.
Thank you, sir.
I heard that swimming in Marksville, Louisiana, in November is the thing to do.
I kind of started a tradition here, it looks like. So I got my second one in 2020, and I don't know if it ever been won twice. I don't think it had. And I said, if I win this deal, I'm going in the pool. I had won it in 2018. I came back and won it in 2020. And I just said, if I win this one, I'm going in the pool. So as this one was coming along, I already had a third chicken. I had a 6 rib. And Larry Dwayne Anderson had a first rib and like a third or fourth chicken. Like, man, Larry, he's going to be hard to beat. He gets a brisket call. This is over. Was they were going up the ranks. They get to 5th place. They still hadn't called me or Larry. And they called me 3rd place brisket. And I was like, man, I got 3 calls. I was like, there's only 2 spots left. And if Larry gets one of them, I'm done. They called 2nd place brisket. He didn't hit. And I was standing beside Rachel Blue. And Adam Gautreaux was behind him, and he's like, brother, you may win this deal, and they called first place, and it was Mike Bryce. And I was like, holy crap, I just won this deal again. And I think Adam said something, you going in the pool, right? You going to keep the tradition? And I was like, you know it, I'm going in the pool. So anyway, it was one of them deals that it was really surreal. It's a great competition to go to. Beautiful RV park, one of the nicest RV parks in the United States. Great food down there. And man, when I won it, I was like, I got to go in the pool. It was cold. I didn't care. I was like, I'm going in the pool.
The good news is you always have your swimsuit on. You're ready for the pool at any time.
That's right. I had my trunks on, and I had my shirt. I kicked my shoes off, and in the pool we dove. So I handed my phone to Alan Freeman, and he kind of captured it, and I thought that was pretty good. So it was a lot of fun. And then, man, all of a sudden I start getting people like the next day, man, you need to be on your show. You need to get somebody to host your show. And I was like, eh. But I end up having like 5 or 6 people do that. And I was like, yeah, give the people what they want. That's what the viewers want. Why not? So I've never done it before. And I was like, who can I get? And I called Tim, and I was going to get you 2. And I was trying to get Adam Gautreaux on the show because Adam won that deal last year. I was so happy for him. Adam's been cooking a long time, I think since 2011 or 2012. And finally, last year, he won that deal. And I was so freaking happy for him because I knew how much it meant to him. And, man, we always want to see these guys do it. I knew I didn't have a chance. I didn't get a chicken call, and I had a low rib call, and I was like, I'm out, man. And at that point, I'm hoping Adam's going to get it. Well, Adam pulled out. He said, man, I just cannot, I can't make the show. So I immediately called Tim. I said, Tim, you're going to have to be on the show. I don't want to be on this thing by myself. I don't really like it being about me and stuff like that. And
well, you have to be careful, those South Louisiana guys, because does your software have subtitles for people?
Yeah, that's for sure. So anyway, so I don't know, but it was a lot of fun. And, we always talk about trying to win that one, and I just could not have been more happy. And all the people that reached out and called, and all the people that wanted me to be on my own show, I was like, man, I know now we're going to have to get James for that. So it was a good time.
Yeah, no, I was watching that live, so I was excited when you finally got a chicken call.
Yes,
that's cost you over the last year.
It's cost me probably 3 grand champions because there was 2 of them right back to back. I had second rib, second brisket, went to another one, second rib, second brisket, and just wasn't getting a chicken call. But that's a lot on me. I did a lot of new things this year that I really wanted to try. I had always cooked on my WSM. The last time I cooked on my WSM was at Ennis last year at the Jambo Shootout. And I had like a third chicken, a second rib, and a second or third brisket. Ended up winning it. And I hadn't cooked on it since. I really, at that point, made the transition to go over. I wanted it, and I've always cooked on it. I've cooked on it for like 6 years, and have always done great. But I really wanted to try some stuff with a chicken and getting a grilled chicken. And, man, I tried. I've had my M16. I love the way that thing cooks. I cooked on my Weber a couple times, went back to my M16. I was running my recipe that I had always run. I had tried halfway through a different recipe that I had been tweaking, and I just could not get that chicken to do what I wanted. I was trying different techniques. I was trying different cooking processes. I was doing a lot of different things. And I had a 10th one time, a 10th another time. And it just wasn't consistent. And here I am a whole year now. I said I was going to do a year. Well, this is the last one coming out of Marksville. And I said, you know what? I'm going back to my WSM. And I pulled it out. I went back to my notes. I keep like incredible notes of every competition that I've ever done. It was very easy for me to go back and just replicate it. But I had learned some new techniques that I thought I could easily implement on my WSM. And so I did a practice run. I went back. I hadn't done a practice chicken since 2016. And so I did a little practice run to see how it worked out. It worked great. We tried the chickens. I was like, man, these chickens are good. So I was like, I'm going to run it. You know, I'm back on it, and I'll be dang, third place chicken again. So needless to say, you will not see a grill in my trailer anymore. I'm sticking with my WSM.
I think you ought to try a new technique next week.
No,
I agree.
No, I'm done. I've tried. I did a lot. I learned a couple really cool techniques on chicken, and I kind of applied them, and it worked out for us this weekend. I may go to Invitational. Is going to be tough. 50 teams, I'm sure, will be there, and it ain't going to be no slouchy teams. So it was. It's going to be tough. Hey, if I get a call, fine. If I don't, I'm just happy cooking on this thing again.
Well, I had a notepad if you wanted to, show any helpful tips.
Any helpful tips.
Yeah, we would love that.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I don't know if you saw somebody said, hey, you're going to be able to start doing your own BBQ Academy show. Right?
No. I don't have no world champion beside my name. I'm just the peon. I'm the guy asking the guys questions. So I've had a lot of people, when are you going to do a class? I'm not going to do a class. You don't want my junk. So,
well, Carlos, I think all three of us are going to be at the Invitational. Just to kind of answer Carlos's thing. We had Stephen Peacock. To me, he's the face of BBQ Champs Academy. I mean, he's
absolutely.
He's done a lot.
Yeah, he's a talented cook, extremely intelligent. Used to be a head judge. Kind of the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's awesome. I got a chance to kind of really meet him and talk to him some when we was in Denton. He's just a super guy. He really is. So,
yeah, Danny, I do always wear my socks. That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Mike, you have some trophies behind us. And it looks like one of them I probably would polish off on a Tuesday afternoon lunch.
Y'all would. I don't drink, so people are like, you got all these beer cans. I'm like, Marksville. So the one over here on the far right, this one right here is the one I just won in 2023. I won that this weekend. This one is the one I won in 2020. This one is the one in the springtime in Marksville. That was reserve grand champion. I had a second brisket, second rib, and I got reserve. Chicken cost me. If I just had a dang chicken call, I would have won that one. So, and then
you needed more points.
I needed more points, exactly. And then my one from 2018, I've got it in the house. So I've got 3 of the big ones, and then I got an RGC from this spring. So, I'll take them. It's always nice to get a trophy. And
I wasn't able to make it this year. Did they still have all the raffles and everything?
Yeah. They give all these door prizes.
They give away a lot of stuff.
They give away a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of fun what they do. Yeah. So,
I got to ask you a question because you were on BBQ USA, and Merv asked it. How was it hanging out with Michael Simon?
Yeah, man, that was a really cool experience. Suzette was nervous as all get out. She just didn't like being in front of the camera. It didn't bother me. I'm in front of a camera all the time. And what I really liked about it was I've kind of seen behind the scenes of us filming at BBQ Champs. So all the film, the production, everything that goes into it. And we got a really good professional crew that does all of our stuff. Very professional. But man, these guys are on a whole nother league. I mean, they bring in the whole union comes in. I remember there was one time the lighting wasn't quite right, and they were doing an interview with us, and we was out by the pond. We were sitting on the where the dock was that surrounds the building. And all of a sudden, the sun, it was very cloudy and overcast, and the sun started coming through the cloud. Oh, hold on one second. They all got little earbuds, right? And hold on just one second. Well, here comes a person that there's this, we use whiteboards for throwing light to make sure that we even do it in BBQ Champs when we're filming outside. We've got a big white board that will reflect the sun on us to give us really good color. That's how technical my guys are. Well, they are the same way, except my guys are, one of us will move the board. No, I said, why can't y'all just move it? Oh, no. We got somebody that's in lighting. This girl comes over here and takes the thing and she moves it like, okay, color's perfect. All right, now we can start again. So it was really cool seeing the technical side of how they go about filming it. All the cameras they've got. You got somebody that does lighting. You got somebody that does sound. You've got somebody that we had Jessica was our producer. She was there with us the whole time. She's trying to capture the moment and everything. It was really cool to meet Michael Simon and hear his comments and stuff like that. Michael Simon is just really down to earth. He is a super, super awesome guy, very down to earth, knows his stuff about barbecue. And he's learned a lot, I'm sure, going to all the competitions and talking to the guys and seeing a lot of things that was probably open to his eyes compared to just cooking barbecue in a restaurant. Even though he's an Iron Chef, there's a lot of things that we do it's a little bit different. So, but the whole production part of that I was amazed and fascinated by it. I really thought that was the coolest part of all of it, is seeing how they go about doing everything. So had a lot of fun doing it, and I really do appreciate that opportunity to go do it. The only thing I kept saying is, God, I don't want to be the one that I hope I walk. I was like, you know how embarrassing this is going to be? Oh, you're BBQ Champs Academy. Shouldn't you be able to, like, you got everybody's recipe. I don't use nobody's recipe. But everybody keeps thinking that. I was like, I just want one walk. Purvis was there, and I just kept saying, all I care about is just one walk. Just give me one walk, and I'll be happy. So, and I get a 14th place chicken out of 15. They call 14. I was like, well, I got a call. I guess I need to be happy with that. I wanted something a little higher. But I'll take the 14th. If that's all I get, at least I didn't sit on my butt. And anyway, so then they go through and we had a second place rib, second place brisket, and got it was a 3-way tie for first. Myself, Bill, and Brady Bodine all had 30 points. And at that point, the tiebreaker, Bill had 2 walks. He had a first and a first. I had a second and a second. Brady had like a second, a fourth or something, and then his brisket kind of hurt him. He had like an 8th brisket, and that was the only thing that kind of gave me a little chance. We had the points. We knew there was a 3-way tie, but then, the tiebreaker was Bill had the first place brisket. So, hey, Mike, there's some chicken class and BBQ Champs. All you have to do is hit the buy button. And Lee Hickle has been screaming at me for the last 3 months. Just use my chicken class. There he is right there using my chicken recipe now. He kept saying, just use my recipe. I was like, I will tell you, I did Lee's chicken one time. I was at a cook-off down in Hempstead, Texas. I had never cooked that far south. It was the one that Robert did for the BCA. It was the first time a BCA had ever went to Texas. And I was like, I've never cooked this far south. I don't know what to do. Lee cooks a lot down here. I'm going to run Lee's chicken. I told everybody, I'm going to run Lee Hickle's chicken. I had a 5th place chicken day 1. I had a 1st place chicken day 2. So, and it hit. And I think I came up one other time when I came back up here. I think I went to Maybank and had a 13th place chicken. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to what I had been doing. So, anyway, but I won't do it. I mean, I kind of get into the zone of what I've done that's been successful for me. I cook on a rotisserie. Nobody cooks on a rotisserie. I cook on a drum, my WSM, and I had really good flavor profiles. It was working for me in 2018. I mean, the last 5 competitions, we had a grand, a reserve, and a grand. I had a first, a second, and a first brisket. And it was just one of them deals that I carried that over to 2019. I'm still running that same brisket recipe. I will not change that brisket recipe for nothing. Now, I've tweaked how much rubs and stuff go on them, but I'm just consistent on that. I've got 2 different rib recipes that I've used over the years that have done very well. So I'll either use one. If I feel it drops off, I'll go to the other. And I've got a variation of Lee's recipe. I've changed it up some. I've added some other things to it, and it's kind of similar to his. And I don't quite put as much injection in it as what he does. And I ran that for a long time, and then I kind of completely backed away from that and went with one just more of a really chickeny flavor, and I played with that recipe. So I kind of use those two. Like I said, when I'm on my WSM, I tend to do pretty well. So
good. I speaking of first place briskets, let's bring Tim Mesh into the conversation, because the Kansas City Roll is one of my favorite moments of all time. Him lifting that trophy up.
Oh.
So, Tim, a couple of things. Tell us about that experience at the American Royal. First place brisket. You finished high both days. Kind of go through and tell us a little bit about, for the people that don't know, Tim Mesh.
Yeah, so it was last year at the American Royal. Went up there. I'd been there in 2016. Got a rib call. Was all excited. Went back up last year, and my hope was, hey, maybe I can get a ribbon, and that would be great. But I felt a little better last year because I have my own RV now. I've done a little bit more KCBS. I've done some traveling with KCBS, so I was a little more comfortable. Never in my wildest dreams that I think I would get a first place brisket. But it hit the first day, and when they called my name, I blacked out. I don't remember anything after that. And then the second day, I got a sixth place brisket in the open with a 179.922, so I was real close to another 180. And then go back up this year, and the first day in the Invitational, I get another sixth place brisket. So they pretty much like it up there. But the second day in the open, it was 180 some. So you don't know what happens there on that day, but. It was quite the experience, and it's just something that you can't ever duplicate. Darren Worth said to me, he gave me some real good advice. Because I went up there and I said, man, now I got a target on my back. Everybody be like, oh, look, there's Mr. Brisket, blah, 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 and he's like, it doesn't matter. He says, you won it once. He goes, you don't have to prove anything to anybody else. And that guy has some really, really good, just general sportsmanship barbecue advice. So if y'all ever get a chance to meet him, he's one of the best. So
Absolutely.
Tim Woolridge said the first time he met you was in Marksville in 2017. He said you won first place brisket, of course, and after awards you went to his campsite and you were graciously let him wash. That's
right. It was Marksville. The first time I met him and Zach, and we had a couple beers afterwards. He's like, you need to wear that medal into the casino. So I wore it in there, and Jamie Geer was there and all those people. And they're like, look at that idiot with that medal in there. I'm like, well, it's first place. I don't give a shit. So, anyways, but.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been good. But yeah, I've cooked a lot this year. This year I've cooked in Pennsylvania. Just came back from Hawaii. Last year we went to Alabama. I cooked in California a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I've cooked in Alaska. So I think a lot of that, there's guys, and I'm not trying to, everybody barbecues the way they want to barbecue. They barbecue within their means, their time, their schedule, and their ability. I like to, I'm lucky enough to have a job where I can travel some, and that gives me the flexibility to have some airline miles and some hotel points and stuff like that. So when I went to Hawaii, I tell my wife this, but she doesn't believe me. It cost me $5.60 to go to Hawaii because I used my points.
Wow.
So, and I stayed at my buddy Pappy's house, who I couldn't have done it without him, Mike Plowman, out in Hawaii. And, I didn't need a rental car or anything. So logistics wise, it was just going to the grocery store and getting the normal supplies. He had a smoker out there. I turned him on to Big Papa a couple years ago, and he built a Big Papa drum, and I've been giving him some advice how to cook. So I sent him another Big Papa kit 3 weeks ago, and he built a second drum. So I had two drums. And when I first started cooking KCBS, I was doing it on two drums. You just got to adjust your timing for that. So we did it on two drums. I carried the meat with me. So in Hawaii, I trimmed everything and froze it here except for chicken. I won't freeze chicken thighs. I learned my lesson on that. Some people do, and they swear by it. I personally trim them the week of and keep them cold. So I carried on the airlines with me a bag of meat. I had a brisket. I had 4 pork butts. I had 16 thighs. I had 3 racks of ribs, a couple packs of homemade sausage for them. And the bag was so heavy. And, I had a little crappy bag with a little cloth handle, so I had to get one of those luggage carts. Felt like the old lady, pushing my meat through the airport to get it on. But TSA didn't give me a hard time. I was going to make my kale boxes and bring them, but Hawaii, you can't bring in vegetation or any kind of vegetables and stuff like that. So the Hawaii cook-off was great. The promoter out there, Kevin Schmidt, and the Warrior Barbecue Series, they did a great job. You would not know that was a first-year full KCBS contest. I mean, you'd think it was one of the better ones put on here in the United States. He did in the 48. He did a great job. His whole staff did a great job. They really catered to the veterans. The location was great. The staff was great. And he also had, so if anyone ever wants to go cook that, they're going to do it again next year. They have stuff you can borrow. You can borrow tables. You can borrow pop-ups. They have all kinds of stuff that you can borrow for free from them. Luckily, I had my buddy Pappy out there that had all that stuff. Guys, there was a couple California teams, and that's the other thing about traveling. You get to meet all these other people. So the California teams, I met them. A couple guys from Oregon, Washington. So it was good to meet. Justin knows a lot of those guys up in there. And they bought Weber Smoky Mountains and had them delivered to Home Depot, and they used them, and then they sold them. They had them sold on Facebook Marketplace before they even left the island. So, they sold them for $50 or $100 less than what they paid for them. So it's definitely a logistical challenge, but I think getting out of your area and your comfort zone makes you a better overall cook. I think in general, just meeting people, different places, different logistics, and kind of get you out of your comfort zone and get you better prepared for something goes wrong or something that's not your way, then you know how to handle it. So, but a lot of times if anybody's thinking about going out of state or somewhere, the promoters, like here in Texas, if someone called us and said, "Hey, we're coming down, can we borrow some smokers?" We would hook that team up with whatever they need. And the same goes, where we go. Like when I went to Alaska 3 years ago, I called the promoter and he's like, "I can get you 2 Weber Smoky Mountains." I'm like, "Well, that's what I started cooking on." So that was pretty easy to get that. Yeah.
Yeah, baby. That's fun.
Yeah, a lot of travel, a lot of fun. Did a lot of places. And like I said, I went to Pennsylvania this year, but we took the motor home because my parents live up there. So we drove up there, did the KCBS in New Holland, and then I traveled to Oklahoma. I cook up there a lot with KCBS, but Outlaw, just kind of wherever I can cook, whenever I can cook.
That's a pretty cool deal.
So Tim, let me ask you a question. So you said you get with the promoter, right? So because Eric and I have been talking about doing this, right? Like I think it's cool when I watch you and you go somewhere without any of your, your drums or your offset or whatever, and you just go out there. So so you just call the promoter and say, "Hey, I want to come cook your contest. I'm from Texas. Can you help me?"
I'll give you an example. So 2 years ago, there was a double KCBS out in Santa Barbara, California, and I was going out there for 2 weeks for work, and it was right on the weekend that I was out there. So I called the promoter. I just, "Hey, this is Tim Esch from Texas. I cook KCBS, looking to get in there." I said, "If you can get me some smokers, I'd like to cook your contest." He's like, "Yeah, I'll hook you up." So he got me 2 gateways, and I had a pickup truck for a rental car, and he gave me a pop-up. And I checked a bag with my rubs and sauces, and I took a bunch of my utensils with me, my injector and that kind of stuff. And I had my Andy Lugo ship my meat out to the hotel where I was staying. So Andy did all that stuff and said, I don't tell my wife how much that cost, but anyways. But we were able to go there and do a double, KCBS double, and I did okay. I mean, they didn't, I didn't kick anybody's ass, but they knew I was there. I think I was like 12th or 13th both days, but a back-to-back double in a campground out of a pickup and pop-up. But to me, that's a challenge, and it's fun, to go and do stuff. Because if I get into the same routine every weekend where I load up my RV and I go and drink beer and turn in 3 meats and come home, I'm not saying it gets stale, but it's fun to go do other stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And so, like, Tim, let me ask you a question. Can you miss a brisket turn-in KCBS the same way you can do an Outlaw?
You can I've never seen it happen. I know it has happened. I've only ever seen it happen one time. I have a picture. If anybody needs it, I can post that picture up. But yes, and I'm not going to get in the middle of that either. I'm just saying that I have seen it happen. I'm not saying why or where.
I love that. That's awesome. Thanks. I appreciate you not posting that picture, Tim. It was a great picture, though.
Yeah, Bobby just had a good comment there. That's true. So what I did for Hawaii, I carried my meat, but I had an old carry-on that I don't use anymore, and I put my rubs and my sauces and everything in there and check that through TSA. They don't give you any hassle, but rubs, they'll make you take them out. They'll try to. I was carrying just some rub for my buddy one time, and the TSA guy's like, "What's in there?" I said, "I can't tell you, sir. Step to the side." I'm like, "No,
that's not good.
Barbecue, secret barbecue rub, you know." And TSA is your best and brightest. I hope no one on here works for TSA, but I deal with them a lot, and so
that's hilarious.
So, Tim, what's your next? You said you were going to go to the Invitational, and then you plan on cooking
Uvalde. Yep. So I've always wanted to do that, and I've always had something come up. So I've signed up for that a couple weeks ago, and Dot and I are going to head down there on Thursday night and set up and cook Uvalde and come home. And then that'll be it for the year. The roundup will be next weekend, and then Uvalde, and then that'll be the end of my year.
That's awesome.
Wow,
Tim,
cool.
I wanted to ask Mike. I was talking to him because I found this picture. I Googled Mike Steele, right? And there's a guy standing by this dragster, right? Is that what's it called?
It was a Pro Street. It's a 1996 Pro Street Firebird. So
how did you go from burning rubber in a raceway to burning meat in a parking lot?
That's a good question. So I have had a long career of drag racing. I started off, I was 17 years old, started building my own engines, and then I got into doing porting and polishing cylinder heads. I got a big high dollar flow bench for porting heads. An engine's an air pump, so the more air that you can put in it, the more horsepower that you can make. And so I've always had a passion for racing. When we was young, we used to do tons of street racing, and then all of a sudden, we went from that. They started doing these fastest street cars, so they were bringing the fastest street cars in the country to tracks. And from that point, it was kind of game on. It was okay. Everybody's showing up at an event. You're going to race, blah blah blah, and so it started really getting serious in 1992 when they started all that. 1993 was the first year we got into it. The biggest race for us was down in Orlando, Florida. It was the World Street Nationals, and it was the biggest race. It was our Super Bowl. I mean, they had cars coming over. They put them on containers or on carriers and bringing them from overseas and from Sweden. They had cars coming from Canada. They had cars all the way from Washington going down to Orlando, Florida. And it was growing at a rapid rate because everybody realized this is the race. And in 1996, 2 years after we started into it, we won that event. And then in 1997, I developed my own nitrous nozzle. So I built my own engines. I ported my own cylinder heads. We built our own horsepower. Yeah, that's the cool thing with drag racing as opposed to barbecue. You make your horsepower. If you got the fastest car there and you can cut a good light, you're the guy that's going to win it. And with barbecue, it's in judges' hands, and you don't know what the hell's going to happen after that. We know how that works. So we had set the record in 1996, and then in 1997, I decided that I was going to build my own nitrous nozzle. I found a really bad flaw in the nitrous nozzles. When I had them out, I was spraying some brake cleaner through them, and I was noticing how the fuel went through and it just splattered everywhere. And I was like, man, you can't atomize fuel pissing it through a round hole. So I took the nozzle to a machine shop right around the block from me. I said, I need to make the outside look like this, but we're going to change the whole internals. So we did. I changed it up. The key that I did is I put a slit in the end of it. You cannot atomize fuel pissing it through a round hole. So we cut a slit in it, kind of like a car wash. And if you ever look at that nozzle on the end of it, it's got a little bitty small slit, and it'll fan the fuel out. And I was like, all right, this is what we need to work on. So a couple of test runs, we tried it. I was using the brake cleaner. It was coming out like hairspray. And I was like, holy crap. First race we go to was down in Orlando. Car ran 3.5 tenths faster and 8 miles an hour. We set the world record again. And that was in 1997. Fast forward 4 years, and then I get a phone call from Edelbrock, which is the largest manufacturer of aftermarket parts in the world. And they said, okay, we've been following you. We know that you got the fastest nitrous car in your division, blah, blah, blah. We know that you got your own nitrous nozzle. Do you want to sell it? I was like, okay, we can certainly talk. So They flew me out there. I talked to Vic Edelbrock, struck up a deal with them. I said, I'm not going to sell it, but I'll license it to you. And told him how much I wanted. He hired me to start up his nitrous division, and we got everything going with Edelbrock. They're still selling them to this day, and that was in 2001. They spun off 2 other nozzles that used my patent, so it got a patent. He said, I'll pay you the money if it'll get a patent. He said, it's obvious it will. Of all the nozzles that's been made for 20 some odd years, yours is completely different than anything. And so they're still selling them. And from that point, I kind of started slowing down a little bit. I was getting more and more into my pool work. And in 2011, I hung up the helmet, and I'm so competitive. I'm always wanting to tinker with things, build things, improve things. That's what I did. I built my own engines. I did my own cylinder heads. We were doing wild, crazy stuff. That's the cool thing when you build your own engines. You can do things that just nobody does. You know, I mean, there was one time I was on the flow bench, and I moved the cylinder head over on the flow bench 35 thousandths. Now, we're talking about the width of a paper clip. I slid the valve over, and what it did, it got the intake valve off the cylinder wall, 35 thousandths. I noticed the airflow. We got a barometer meter that measures water, how much it goes up. Long story short, I added like 20 CFM of air to the cylinder head by scooting it over. So I made the change on the block. We had to get some dowel pins to shift the head over. I had to epoxy up the intake port on one side, grind it out on the other side. Put the thing together, we go to the track. The car picked up a tenth in 3 miles an hour, which, let me tell you right now, when you're already running at 200 miles an hour, a tenth of a second is 100 horsepower. I mean, it takes a lot of horsepower to gain that kind of ET in mile an hour. So I was always the kind of guy that loved to race, loved to compete, loved to build things. And when I retired in 2011, you know, I'm sitting around the house and I'm driving Suzette crazy at this point. So she was like, yeah, we got to get you something to do. I mean, you're driving me nuts. So from that point, we was watching BBQ Pitmaster. She said, man, you like to cook, you know, why don't we see about getting into competition? So made a phone. She said, see if you can find a grill. I found a rotisserie. I would always wanted a rotisserie grill. Found a rotisserie that was on Craigslist, called the guy. Man, I just sold it. What do you want to do? I said, I'm thinking about doing barbecue competitions. He said, where you live at? Shreveport. He said, man, I'm over here in Dallas. What are you doing the second weekend in September? Yeah, I'll be over there. I had a Kendall manufacturing business at that time. And I said, I'll be over there for a little trade show and stuff. He said, man, come out, hang out with me. I'll introduce you, walk around, call me a week before. Okay, I called him the week before. He said, my grill didn't get built. Go over there anyway. Go talk to the promoter. Tell him you want to judge. They'll let you judge. I was like, what? He said, yeah, they pull judges right off the street. So went over there, walked around all day long that day, talking to people. I was just amazed at how nice everybody was. Super friendly. You know, I can see now where the barbecue family side comes in. I told them, I said, we never competed. We never even been to a competition before, but we're thinking about it. We judged all 3 meets. This was in 2011. I came back. Suzette said, go ahead and order you a smoker. You know you want to do this. Get you out of the house. You love to compete. Ordered a smoker. Took them 9 months to build it. I got it. I had never cooked a brisket. I was good on ribs. I was like, man, I'm going to kill them on ribs. You know, that's all I know. I got a good rib. So I cooked 4 briskets. They weren't that great. I cooked another 4, and I could cook 4 at a time. I cooked another 4. They were a lot better. And I had one that had a pretty good flavor profile. The other one sucked. So I made a little adjustment on that brisket. I cooked another batch of 4. So this was 12 briskets. And I had this one brisket. I was like, man, this brisket is really, really good. And I said, all right, that competition's coming up. We know where it's at. Let's go back to that competition. It'll be our first one. So we strolled over there. It was a Texas State Championship. It was the Steve Mayberry. And Tim, you've been cooking a long time. You may have known about that competition.
That wasn't your pit that caught fire that day, was it?
No, it wasn't mine.
Hey, Mike, let me ask you a question, though, because we talked about this the other day. Like, you looked at YouTube and you saw that, hey, temperature on the brisket needs to be at like 190, 195. And
I don't even know if they had YouTube. I think I just Googled it. Like, what do you pull a brisket at? I didn't know. You know, say like 195. And I pulled them at 195. Like, man, these things are tough and dry. Screw that crap. I'm going to go by feel. You know, at that point, I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm not the smartest, but I'm pretty smart. Like, It's not dry because it's overcooked. This thing just ain't cooked enough. So I think my next ones I took up to like 206. I was like, yeah, a lot better. And then the next ones I cooked to 210, and I had that one brisket. It was really, really good. So, I kind of learned on my own, and I was like, oh, let's go to that. So we get over there. It was 47, 48 teams. And I remember Uncle Tony, he came up to me and he said, just make your turn ins. You was here last. When I was surprised, Suzette and I was like blown away. There were several teams that came up was like, you was here last year walking around, wasn't you? I was like, how the hell you remember that? Yeah. You in your life was walking around. You was going to think about competition. Well, this is it. This is our first one. And Uncle Tony came over and said, have fun, make your turn ins. Make sure you got a good enough clock and somebody that can tell time. Anyway, that would be a good time.
Hold on. So, Tim, I had to do it.
You had to put him out, yeah.
Yeah, I had to put him in timeout. It's
take a break for a minute.
I actually have the power now, so I'm going to bring him back on. Maybe he's
maybe he learned his lesson a little bit. Yeah, maybe he's learned his lesson.
Love it. Yes. Anyway, so we made our turn-ins, and we didn't know what to expect, right? There's 48 teams there, so we didn't have a final table in chicken. I was like, all right, we got ribs coming, baby. We're fixing to tear them up. So they called top 10, didn't have a top 10, but I finished 11th, and I was like, hey, that's not bad out of 49 teams. And then they're calling brisket. They get about 3 or 4 into it, and Suzette started patting. She said, we've had a lot of fun, baby. Don't worry about it. And then they get the second place brisket. She said, we'll keep doing it. Just keep practicing. And I'll be dadgum. They call first place brisket. She looks at this ticket. She said, baby, you just won first place brisket. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So anyway, I was ecstatic. $712.50. I finished third overall in that competition. And I still got that little trophy. Big Ed actually built those trophies, if I recall.
Yeah, those little horseshoe trophies.
And and from that point, I was hooked. And that's how I went from drag racing into barbecue. We cooked 10 competitions that next year. Brisket has always been my strongest. I had 7 top 10 finishes that next year. And halfway through that year, I started getting rib calls. I finally had a 7th, an 8th, and a 9th. And I was like, okay. So it was just a learning process. And then that was 2014 was my first full year. 2015 started, playing around with stuff, overthinking a lot of stuff. Like, I'm trying to do stuff like they see on Barbecue Pitmasters, like, make it this, make it. And then I finally realized, man, we're cooking for a backyard judge. Just cook good barbecue. And I tell that to people all the time. What's the set? Cook good barbecue. Well, I do cook good barbecue. And what does the judges say? How many walks have you had? Well, okay, then it's not good barbecue. The judges are going to tell you what there is. And so I just started simplifying things, taking things down, making it more simple, making it like really good, just backyard barbecue. And from that point, in 2016, I got my first grand champion. 2017, I picked up 1 or 2 more grand champions that year. I think I got one. I think I had 3 grands in a reserve by then. And then 2018 is when I really started working on techniques and things, because I started realizing in my cooking process the techniques were more important than the recipes. So me being the stinking gearhead that I am, I'm really coming up with out of the like crazy things for techniques and things. I want to think way outside the box. I think in drag racing that's what we did, because I built my own engines and I was doing things that nobody had ever done. We had the fastest 632 cubic inch engine on the planet by a landslide. There was nobody who could even come close to how much power that thing made. But when you make your own horsepower, when you buy an engine from somebody, you're only going to get as much horsepower as what that engine builder can make. And everybody's got it. 10 people, 15, 20, 30 people's got it. When you build your own and you do your own heads, your own intake, your own nitrous, your own everything, it does put you in a situation to where I don't have to buy more horsepower, I can build it. So there's things that I can control. There's things I can control in my cook. And that's why I really don't want to get into people like, why don't you use their classes? Well, I find sometimes I will give an example. Lee Hickle, when he does his injection, Lee will inject his brisket. He'll pull all the injection out and he'll re-inject it. And all of a sudden, I found myself, hey, man, why ain't I doing that? So I changed up what I was doing on brisket. And I just fell off in brisket. Not like near as good as what I was, but, and I was like, what the heck? Where's my brisket? I mean, it wasn't in the top 5, it was way toward the bottom. And I go back and I keep detailed notes, very, very detailed notes. And I was like, man, I'm re-injecting. Like, what did I do? I never did that. In 2018 is when I really got on my run. I had a grand, a reserve, and a grand the last 5 competitions. I had a first, a second, a first, and a first brisket to close those out. And the 2018 was the Marksville. That was my 5th one, or my first one, and that was after the last 5 competitions. And I was really just on a roll. I was doing great. And when you go change something, then all of a sudden it changed what my process was. I've got my own unique process, my own cooking style, everything. And if I tried to incorporate that with Lee's, and it didn't work for me, but I wasn't using his injections. I was using the injections that I have. So I don't put a lot of injection in my brisket. He does. And when I tried to put that extra injection in it, my brisket didn't like it. And I was like, what the heck? So I'll film a class, I'll do the editing, and I won't watch them again. Because I don't want to all of a sudden it get in my, I need to do that, or I need to do this. And I tried that twice, and 2 times I didn't. I was like, do what you do. You're the crazy guy that's doing all these weird things. Do what you do. And that's kind of why I won't do it. There are times when I'm struggling, it's like, yeah, maybe I should go do it. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to use that against the guys that bought the class. I told myself I never would do that. I did BBQ Champs. After 2018, when I had that big run, I was really doing well. And then I started seeing a lot of the older guys that was cooking. They were wanting to quit. They couldn't win as much. And at that point, I knew I wanted to do something for barbecue. I had just sold my candle business that I had for 13 years. I sold it, and I wanted to do something. And I was like, man, I want to be able to help guys. I want to be able to grow the sport of barbecue in state competitions. I want to be able to give somebody an access that may be too embarrassed to go to an in-person class, maybe too much pride, whatever the case may be. They just feel like I'm not going to do it. I want to give it a chance where they can go in the comfort of their home and go and buy a video and watch it over and over and over and learn the details that these guys are doing and help them grow their knowledge in barbecue. And that's why I did BBQ Champs Academy. And, there it is, Gordon. What led me to build BBQ Champs. That was it. I was watching. I really was enjoying it. And as I was getting really good and doing well, and man, I had a lot of grand champions at that point, I started seeing less people come to competitions and more people falling out. And the first thing I'm thinking is, man, I don't want this sport to die. All of a sudden I've got a new hobby that I'm loving, and I can't race. I've done giving that up, and I didn't want to see this thing just die. So I was like, if we could give somebody the skills set to watch how these guys are doing it and film these world champions, would it help grow the sport of barbecue? And it without a doubt, it has. I ran the numbers the other day. We've sold over 2,200 classes in barbecue and steak. So it is, and then, you see the success stories, you see the Stephen Peacocks, you've been a huge proponent of BBQ Champs. It's hundreds. Literally go to bbqchamps.com. There's a little review button over there. Click it. There's like 150 reviews. All of them are 5-star. All of them was, I quit counting at the end of last year, but by the end of last year, we had over 100 grand champion and reserve grand champions combined of just the people that I know that posted it. I can't, it's done got so many, I can't keep up with everybody. Thousands of top 10 calls, and I don't know. I'm very happy that barbecue is pretty strong and growing. I know BBQ Champs has helped a lot of people, and that's all I care about. I step out of the limelight. It ain't about me. It's about helping the cooks.
And I'll let, if you don't mind, I'll step in here for a second.
Yeah.
Speaking of growing the sport, one thing, I will transition a little bit here to outlaw is a couple of things we've done in outlaw to grow that is we've lowered the age to 14 for head cooks to try to get the new high school teams in there, and we're allowing 2 teams to cook off a same pit. So, and we're not having a huge points chase yet. We got some stuff coming down the road to make things a little more interesting. So we're trying to grow it, but we also don't want to lose where we came from and get to something that your backyard or your guy that wants to cook 3 or 4 times a year can't come out. So it kind of leads into what you're saying is to try to, if we don't keep continuing to grow the sport, there'll be no one left for us to compete.
100%.
Tim, I want to ask you because Mike was telling me his story about the first time he cooked. And I've heard like the stories from Justin West. First time he cooked, they like RGC'd it. Tell me the first time you went to a barbecue comp, and because everybody seems to win except me. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. So I'd love to hear your story about the first time, your first competition.
So I cooked, growing up, my granddad cooked, and that kind of got me into like, hey, guys can cook, So when I was in the Navy, my mother-in-law had a smoker that they never used. So I borrowed it and started cooking some country-style ribs. And my buddy had this rub, and everybody thought they were great. I look back now, they were not good. But back then, they were good. So, Pitmasters comes on TV, and I'm like, holy crap, there's competition. So I went online. I ordered a book from a guy in Georgia. I forget the name. Chatham Artillery Barbecue. Bill Anderson, I think was the guy's name or whatever. He was on the circuit. He wrote a book. So there was no YouTube or anything like that. I guess there was, but I didn't look at it. So I got this book and read how to do it, and I was all excited. And one day I got an email from the local VFW I was a member. It says, hey, we're having a barbecue cook-off. I said, Dot, we're going. So we loaded up. I had a little green Brinkman. That was it. It was only it wasn't sanctioned. It was 2 meats. It was ribs and brisket. So I load everything I own in the back of my truck, and we drive up to McKinney, and I pull in, and there's some big, huge trailer pit there, and there's another big trailer pit. I'm like, man, we are screwed. But there was only 3 people. So I stayed out all night cooking the brisket like I read in the book and everything, and the storm came through, blew all my stuff over, the typical stuff. But the next day, we turned everything in, and I got first place brisket. Of course, there was only 3 of us, so I think they just kind of like, oh, we'll give this guy this guy that. I don't, But anyways, from there, it was hooked. So my first real legit sanctioned cook-off was in Italy. It was a Lone Star. And I borrowed my other buddy's Brinkman. So I had 2 Brinkmans, and we had 4 meats. So we had to cook pork also. And I don't know how I got through it, but I got it done. Never got a call. And then my third one was in Kennedale, Lone Star. Woody's wife was a promoter that year. And I got my first call ever was a chicken, 5th place chicken call. I won $50. So hooked from there on. No idea what the chicken tasted like, but I won $50 with it.
That's so cool.
My first cook, it was an Itasca. And so they didn't have enough people for it to be a sanctioned cook. So there was 12 teams. So instead of calling 12th through 1st, they called it 11th through 1st, right? So every time the chicken, it got to 2nd place, and I'm like, I just won this. This is easy. All my friends tell me how good my barbecue is.
Because you give it to them for free.
Exactly.
And all the beer you can drink.
Yeah, and free beverages. So then it got to ribs. I go, well, ribs, I'm better with ribs. No, I got 12th in ribs too. And then brisket, when they called 2nd place brisket, I go, well, I'm the king of brisket. So I got 12th, and 12th. So
at least you're consistent.
I should have scored more points.
Yeah, you should have scored more points.
It's not golf.
That's hilarious. That's right.
If Tim Ash comes out with a Barbecue Champs Academy class, it'll be how to win, score more points.
How to win, score more points. That's it. If you're not winning, you're not scoring enough points.
That's right.
So
I see a couple questions here, Mike. With all the
let me
classes,
go through there.
How would you recommend? Let's see.
Hold on, let me go back. There you go.
Another real quick thing that I recommend to newer cooks is when you go to a cook-off, kind of get to meet people, get out and meet people, and then just be quiet. Just sit there and be quiet and listen, especially after awards when guys win and have a few beers. Just sit there and listen to what they're saying, because they'll be like, I did this and I did that and I changed this and I blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing how much you learn just by sitting and listening.
Yep. All right, James, with all the classes,
There you go. Sorry about that,
Yeah,
Mike.
with all the classes now, how would you recommend to someone how to pick a class? All right, James, that's a great question. So if you go to each pitmaster, the first thing I would say, what region are you cooking in? If you're cooking in Texas, I would certainly recommend you look at our Texas cookers instead of somebody like Mark Lambert or Robbie. Nothing wrong with their classes, but if it's your first one, take a Texas class.
Yeah, James is up here in our area. James Page
Yeah,
is right
Yeah,
there.
James
right.
and Anita Page.
Yeah,
They had. I think they were in that McKinney cook-off. They did amazing. They had 3 calls. One of the few teams to have 3 calls. Yeah, James is a heck of a cook. His wife's a better cook, just like
like Erica. Yeah,
yeah, just like you.
Yeah.
Hold on, just a sec, Mike. Hold on. Sorry, Tim. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, man, but like he has to. All right, we'll bring him right back on though. He'll learn. He'll learn.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, I want no more Erica jokes. Okay. So anyway, so if you go to each one of the classes, when you go to the class, if you'll scroll down past the bottom of where the meats are, brisket, rib, pork, butt, chicken, and you go a little bit lower, it has their bio. So it's going to show them what they cook on. Like Corey Mikes cooks on a Jambo offset. Bill Purvis cooks on drums. Robert cooks on drums. So find a smoker that they're cooking on that's similar to yours. So that's the first thing that I would say. And that's how I would go about picking out a class. So Philip asked a question. Do you really think meat source matters more than how you cook it? 100%.
Yeah,
you show up to a barbecue competition. You don't want to show up with crap. You're not going to win.
You don't want to be out. You don't want to be out meated.
Yeah, 100%. You've got to have good quality meat. So Raider Red Meats, I send a ton of people down to them. They have quality meats down there. Overnight shipping, it's really good, and you're not going to have any time. So,
and you do see that the one-offs. There are cooks out there like I just bought a select from Walmart and got 5th place or whatever, and that's fine, and that happens. But if you're doing it consistently every week and you want to win some money, you got to put some money into it.
Well, I know for a long time in 2018-19 when Eric and I first started cooking, I was cooking primes, right? And I remember I went to Weatherford Cook and I was talking to Ed Fowler, right? And I love Big Ed. And he told me, I said, my brisket's been getting like top 5 calls. Like I think I had 8 first place briskets that year. And he said, what kind of brisket are you cooking? And I said, I cooked a prime. And he was like, man, it's the end of the point season. Like you got out meated today. Yeah. And from that point on, for the rest of I think I had 4 first place briskets to that point, but I had like an 8th and a 6th. And I switched to a Wagyu, and it was, I had 4 more first place briskets to end the year.
People are now getting more used to it. I would say a couple of years ago, I cooked nothing but Creek Stones, and they did really well. And but then now people are used to Wagyu's way more popular now, and people are getting used to it. And a lot more cooks are cooking it. So
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and that's one thing I learned too. I
see you there, Juke.
Yeah, what up, Juke?
Yeah.
I will say this: if and Eric and I did this, and we didn't do it last year, we're going to do it this year. But we do a practice cook at our house every year, to where we have 8 to 10 people come over. We cook 2 different brisket recipes, 3 different rib recipes, right, for each rack, and we'll cook a couple of different chicken recipes. The first year we did it, we just asked them like, "Hey, tell us what you think," and they were like, "Oh man, everything's so good." I was like, well, that didn't work.
That's not what you want to hear. Yeah.
So then we did a score sheet. We gave them like, hey, judge it 1 to 10, like appearance, taste, right? And really we were looking for the taste more than the appearance. Well, her cousin Jackie, who I love to death, started being very critical. So the first year I was mad. The second year I was even madder because she was telling me, oh, the brisket's too peppery. That's one thing I learned about the difference between a prime and a Wagyu is a prime. You can put a lot more pepper on a Wagyu brisket than you can a prime. So, and we learned that. So not only go to a cook-off and what Tim said, back then before BBQ Champs Academy, you had to hope somebody would help you out. Robert Ralston was one of the first cooks that helped me out and said, hey man, you're a good cook. What are you doing on your brisket? It was different back then. The good news now is, like what Tim said, you can take a BBQ Champs Academy class, but you can also just shut up and listen. Like if you go to like me, I'm horrible. Erica gets mad all the time. I don't know how many times I've got grounded from giving somebody a recipe, and she's like, "Babe, you worked at this for this long, blah blah blah." But people want to help people that want to win, or people that come out there on a constant.
You can give everyone your direct recipe, and they're all going to cook it different.
Yeah, and
a lot of times, if people ask me for help, I'll say, "Well, tell me what your process is." So they'll start explaining, and then I'll just be like, "Well, maybe try this or maybe try that. That may help you a little bit because you don't know. You can't just give them your recipe because you don't know any of their techniques or anything."
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I've called Tim because like I was cooking in Georgia, and I was like, "Man, what should I do different on my brisket in Georgia?" And then I put a bunch of sauce on there and then turned it in. And then somebody was like, "Yeah, man, the good news is you Texas cooks, you have a leg up in brisket because they don't like sauce in Georgia." And I'm like, God.
Yeah.
So you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, can I give a quick shout out for the roundup coming up this weekend?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. So the Outlaw Roundup's coming up. We have 20,000 guaranteed, 10,000 for the Invitational, 10,000 guaranteed for the Open, and then 100% payback for the Open. So if we get 50 cooks, we'll have around 27.5 to give out total for the weekend. So it'd be pretty good. We have elections coming up, so we still have nominations open for the 4 board positions. And we've got some things we're working on starting in January that we're going to announce next year for Outlaw to change up some things. Maybe we don't ever want to forget where we came from and why we started Outlaw, but we also want to kind of make it a little bit more intriguing to maybe some more experienced cooks too.
I love it. That's
trying
awesome.
to keep everybody happy, and it's very hard to do in barbecue because you know how cooks are.
Oh yeah. All right. I do have
one last thing for Tim.
Okay.
Tim, when does the nominations close?
I want to say they close right at the roundup next week.
Okay, so if you're an Outlaw member, if they want to nominate somebody for an open position, can you kind of go through that a little bit?
So go to our website. There's a info, or there's a board at outlaw.org is the email, and you say, "I so-and-so would like to recommend so-and-so for this position." President, secretary, and 2 at-large board or director positions are open.
And will the nominees, will you announce who the nominees are before the vote is, or before the vote?
Well, yeah, you have to know who to vote for, right?
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, definitely. Because I might
right
stand
now,
a chance for president if nobody knew who to vote for, right?
No, I mean, we have nominations now, and I think I can. I'm not going to say because I got to check with the board whether we can say. I think we're allowed to say them, but I don't want to get in trouble with Judy.
I'm not on the board, so I'll say I think one of my really good friends, Justin West, is running for president. And I think if you look at Justin West Cook-Off in Decatur, he's one of the best promoters in the business. He's a people person. He's looking to grow the sport, and I think he'd be a great asset as your president for Outlaw.
Yeah, the more I think of it, the more I'll say. I mean, there's nothing to hide. I mean, people nominate. They're nominated. Everybody knows they're nominated. So, yeah, Justin's nominated for president. Walker and Judy are nominated for to refill, to stay in their positions. And Steve Cumby is not running for a board director, so we're still have another open board member. And I've been out of town for like 2 weeks, so I may be missing another nomination. But Steve Cumby, being that he's the outgoing guy and he's also a lawyer, he's running our elections. So.
Okay, and I think Cody Malin's stepping down.
Cody's going to run
and he's running for a director position. So
yeah, he's going to run. That's right.
Cody was the first president of Outlaw and did an absolutely amazing job leading a new organization. So
he still wants to be involved, but he can't be involved at the level he wants to be right at this point.
Definitely,
that's it.
So we got a lot of good stuff coming, and we'll just keep up doing what we're doing. But I mean, as long as you get out and cook, no matter what it is, we're just trying to grow the sport. And, I cook CBA, I cook KCBS, BCA. I love going over there and getting my butt kicked by the Louisiana boys every so often. Blanchard this year has moved to February. So he moved it for that student council thing. So that'll be another good one over there.
Do you know when that cook-off is? Is it going to run against Houston or?
I have to ask Shannon. I want to say, what's the holiday in February? Is it Columbus or not Columbus? It's like
President's Day.
I think it's that weekend.
I think it's that weekend.
Because I know Erica and I've wanted to cook that for a long time.
Blanchard's
a great cook.
Man, Shannon's a great promoter. If he was my principal, I'd still be in high school.
Heck yeah, he's awesome. Yeah.
or jail,
It's
one of
fun.
the two.
Yeah. That's awesome. Absolutely. Look, I do want to make a quick announcement for everyone. It's Black Friday is coming up, so I threw together a coupon real quick. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, BFCM 23, get you 10% off any class that we have, doesn't matter which one it is. So use that coupon. It's good till Monday, BFCM 23, and it doesn't matter what class. So barbecue, steak, you can get any of them. Backyard barbecue classes. And speaking of backyard barbecue classes, we do have 20 backyard barbecue classes that we're going to give away to one lucky winner. So we need a question. What question do we want to fulfill? So,
I have a great question.
okay. Now, look, it's going to be in real time. So when these comments start coming, it goes by the actual real time. So I'll monitor it. So if you got a question, ask the question, make sure you know the answer, and then whoever gets the question right will get the 20 backyard barbecue class. So
How many competitive cook-offs has Mike Steele done? So how many cook-offs have you done, Mike? I know the answer. Let's
did I say that during the show?
No, you didn't.
Oh wait a minute. They're not gonna guess that.
No, it's closest. It's closest to whoever comes up. Lucas said 10,000. That's
10
not gonna
million.
work.
That ain't it. Whoever's closest without going over.
Yes.
Whoever's closest without going over.
There's Stephen
will win
Peacock with 47.
Damn, 754. Y'all must think 500. How old y'all think I am? So, holy crap, man! You guys
James
better.
Miller.
15, 125.
Lance, 125.
Well, when are we gonna end the time? Because we could be a long time.
Well, here's the thing. We'll end it. I mean, we're already over.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right, we're gonna end it in 30 seconds.
30 seconds. We'll count down. Hang on. Let me start the timer so that way everybody knows it's fair.
All right, we're gonna start the timer now. You got 30 seconds, and then we're gonna end it.
Hang on. We're gonna
He's
start
getting
it. Hang on.
Yes, your chicken fried barbecue. You're very late. So
there you go.
All right. So here's the countdown. He's got it going. When that baby hits 0, we're gonna stop. So y'all keep it going, and we'll see whoever's the closest. Right now, I see one that's the closest. So
closest to not going over.
Closest without going over. How many competitions?
I bet $1, Bob.
$1.
Chicken Fried asked, "Did I win?" He's won a lot, so we know that.
Only one guess. One guess. Don't
Jordan
keep guessing.
Thompson, 152.
Okay, and time's over.
Time's over.
All right, so
I'm gonna. There were so many.
There's one of them right there that got it.
152.
No, wrong one. That one right there got it. 136.
130. Oh, look at that.
I think that's the class. I've had 140 competitions. So
let's just double check.
Well, I'm just going through looking at it, and you got to go by real time. So
yeah, no, I think that's it.
That's it. I'm scrolling through it. All right, Philip. I don't know if you bought a class from me have not bought a class from me, let me go in there and click on your name. Philip, I need you to email me at bbqchampions@gmail.com. bbqchampions@gmail.com. Let me take a picture of your name so I don't forget it. Doink. And then I will add, Philip, just real quick, have you bought a class from us? He hasn't. Okay. So, Philip, what I need you to do is send me I got your first and last name in the email, your email address, and I will set up an account, and I will give you our 20 backyard barbecue classes. Chicken fried barbecue comes in here at 140. I love it.
Everything.
Yeah, he does. So, and I will get you BBQ Champions, plural, at gmail.com. Philip, and I will create an account for you, and I'll put the classes in your account, but you need to send me that email. I'll probably get it done sometime tomorrow. So, but I hope everybody takes advantage. Also, once again, our coupon code Black Friday Cyber Money BFCM23, 10% off anything. Also, if any of you steak cookers are on here, I got good news for you. We got a new steak class that's about to drop. That class is going to drop probably the first week in December, and I promise you, you are going to really, really, really love the steak class that we have rolling out. And once again, that's going to be the first week in December is when we're planning on launching it. So anyway, all right. I just wanted to kind of get a few little things in there real quick. Now I'm back to not being no host. You've done a really good job today, James.
So first of all, I'd like to thank Tim Ash, one of the best barbecue guys in the world. That's absolutely when me and my wife see him and Dot, we get excited. Mike, I know Erica gets excited when she sees you because you always defend her. I get excited to see Suzette because I know she'll spend your money and you worry about that.
Yeah.
You're very
spend some money, yeah. Hey, speaking of that, real quick, I have a suggestion. Maybe one of your Christmas shows, you do maybe a half hour or so of all the barbecue wives have on and do it like a little round table with the wives.
I like that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I appreciate, Mike, you let me host.
Yes.
Good job, James.
Tim, I appreciate you. And Eric and I will probably contact you more. You know, I've reached out to you for help. We do want to go cook another cook. Mike, I will say this. I only put you in timeout twice.
You did good.
I appreciate it. Is there anything, Mike, usually you ask us this. Is there any sponsors you want to thank? Well, hang on. Let me do this. Tim, because I know who your sponsors are and I love it. So, Tim, before we end the show, tell us about your sponsors.
So my number one sponsor this week that sent me to Hawaii was me, myself, and I. So that was the big one there. He always puts gas in my tank as well. I do give a shout out to Big Dave Pauling and Brad Pauling, Big Country Barbecue. I've been using their rub on brisket ever since day one. Texas Select Seasoning, Wild Bill Powell supports me very well. Aaron Leslie, Texas Oil Dust is great. And last but not least, Chicken Fried Barbecue looks out for me pretty well. I appreciate his support.
There you
Mike,
go.
I will let you finish the show with there's Philip Lang with the barbecue champs at gmail.com.
Yes,
correct?
Phil, that is correct. BBQ champions at gmail.com. That is correct, Phil.
And I will let you do your sponsor, the Barbecue Champs Academy, and then the sponsors for Pigs and Cows Gone Wild.
All right. Thank you, James. I really do appreciate you, man. I love you to death. You and Erica are just mean the world to us. We always have a great time hanging out with you. I wish we got to cook more often. And I think you did a phenomenal job hosting the show tonight. Awesome, awesome job. It's really cool to sit on this side because there's a lot of times I do want to tell stories and stuff. And I really do appreciate the several people that reached out and said, hey, you need to be on your own show and get somebody to host it. So thank you for that. I normally don't like to do that kind of stuff, but I was like, you know what? Give your fans what they want. I first of all want to always thank all of our fans tonight. We've had a lot of comments, a lot of folks. Man, we were bumping 50 most of the night, so thank you. As for my partners, man, they're scrolling across the screen. I could not do what we do without Dustin at the barbecue store. Always fast shipping. He's a huge supporter of BBQ Champs Academy. One of the cool things is you're sitting there looking at these rubs that these guys are using. Dustin always says, if I don't have it, you let me know and I will get it in. That's how driven he is to making sure that he's got everything that everybody needs. So huge shout out to Dustin and Elena. They have built an incredible barbecue store down there, and I really do appreciate them. David at Gunnar Wilhelm Knives, absolutely the best knives on the market. We're going to have a coupon code for you guys for that as well. I had a big announcement that I thought about making tonight. Obviously, it's too late now, but we got some things that we're working on for BBQ Champs that I think everybody's going to like, and we're going to probably have another big show with a lot of people on, and we'll talk about it then. But we'll see if we can get you a discount for Gunnar Wilhelm Knives. That'd be a great, great present to get to somebody for Christmas or for yourself. Also, Miss Gail at Daigle's Barbecue sauces and glazes. I love Miss Gail. She's awesome. I have used their stuff from the very, very beginning of my competition. And I highly recommend you take a look at some of their sauces and glazes. They've got some great stuff out there. Be sure to check them out. Also, Raider Red Meats. Kirsten does a great job of getting stuff out. You tell her kind of what you're looking for, and she will get it to you. Usually she overnights everything. They've got pretty good shipping for being it overnight. They're always fast about getting stuff out as well. Also, Texas Select Seasoning. They may not be a sponsor on Barbecue Champs Academy, but he does do sponsoring of us. I'm making no pig. I've got Miss Juicy Pig right here. That goes on my ribs. That's one of the rubs that I use, and I gave a shout out to that this weekend. That's one of his products that I use, and I absolutely love it. So anyway, I've had a lot of fun tonight. James, thank you once again. Tim, man, I really do appreciate you joining. I did not want to be on this by myself. It's not about me. I don't ever like making these things about me. I want to. But
you were still in the middle, though. You're still in the middle.
I don't know how that happened. I don't control the deal. That's James that did that. So once again, if you're looking for a great coupon to get 10% off BFCM 23, 10% off that class, that will end on Monday, after Cyber Monday. So it'll make a great Christmas gift for somebody, and I hope everybody's enjoyed the show. Thank you for allowing me to sometimes get on here and tell my story. It's pretty cool. I'm on the different side of it tonight, and James is running everything. And James, once again, thank you, brother. I really do appreciate it.
Nice job, James.
I want to first of all wish you two guys a happy Thanksgiving. All of our listeners, thank you so much for your support that's made this show as good as it's been for the last almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in July, 2.5 years. Thank you so much. Thank you for always being here and watching our show. And we're growing, and we usually average around 900 to 1,000 views every week. So we really do appreciate that. That's pretty good views for a little show like this. Thank you so much. And I hope each and every one of you safe travels if you're going anywhere for Thanksgiving this week. Please be careful out there. A lot of drinking and going on. Please be responsible. And enjoy the time with your family, because at the end, family is what it's all about, and building those memories. I do a lot of virtual cooking classes, online virtual cooking classes for big corporation, and I always tell them barbecue's about family, friends, and loved ones, and building those relationships, and nothing is even better when you're either smoking a turkey or you have Thanksgiving and you have all your family and friends over and building memories. So go out there, and if you're going to smoke a turkey like I'm going to, y'all go out there, have a lot of fun, and smoke on.